and kind of making sure that you're still kind of staying in contact. We talk about social isolation. I really like to think about physical distancing, especially with elders, making sure that you're not socially isolating them. You still want to talk to them. You still want to communicate with them. I know with my grandpa, he had just moved into independent living or assisted living right before COVID-19 started. And it was really interactive, lots of activities, and he was kind of adjusting to it. But when COVID-19 happened, everything went on lockdown. He has to spend all of his time in his room. If he left his room, he'd have to stay in quarantine even longer. No more like communal dining. And so it's a really big change. A lot of kind of an epidemic of isolation and loneliness that was already happening in our elders. COVID-19 really made it worse. And so one thing that I did was I bought him, luckily I was able to afford it, but I got him an Echo Show. I don't have any kind of invested interest that I'm aware of in Amazon, but being able to have those video conferencing systems with them and just being able to drop in on them was really helpful. And so lots of other options through Google, probably through Apple too, and lots of other like options, even Zoom, like Jake and I are talking on now, just to make sure you're staying connected with your grandparents, your loved ones, and whoever else is in your life.
Is he local? Are you able to see him physically yet, or is he elsewhere?
He's in Texas.
Okay.
That's where I grew up. Yeah.
I see the Cowboys helmet behind you.
Yeah, go Cowboys.
Are we going to have a football season?
My guess is some kind of football season. Yeah. I mean,
probably not college though.
Yeah. I mean, college, I think, I'm a big advocate. Let the players decide what's best for them. They're the ones putting themselves at risk. So, yeah. If they want to do it for us, then I appreciate that. But if they don't, I understand.
That's true. It's entertainment, right?
Yeah.
You're really passionate about this population. How did you get drawn to it?
Geriatrics.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of always wanted to work with elders. Real close to my grandparents growing up. Grandma was real sick, on dialysis in a wheelchair. So spent a lot of time taking care of her.
That was it. Wow. That's maybe the simplest story I think I've ever heard of anybody who is in a profession. It's like one sentence. It's very, very, sometimes that's where our deepest passions arise, right? The simplest explanation. So let's talk about homebrewing real quick. I'm mindful of the time. I want to wrap up, but I don't think I've ever discussed homebrewing on this podcast either. So we're breaking ground all over the place. Geriatrics and homebrewing. How long have you been brewing?
So, like most people, I probably don't spend as much time on my hobby as I'd like to, but I was able to get another batch going during coronavirus. So silver lining, unfortunately, lots of not so, lots of gray. But I think I've been doing it now for a few years. I think probably my wife, I'll give her credit. Shout out to my wife. Thank you. Bought me a home brewing kit and a couple recipes. And so ever since then, I've just kind of continued to buy recipes, get out at least one beer a year with regards to kind of getting it done. Do 5 gallons at a time, keep it real simple. Often wait for a day where I have the house to myself, just because I don't have a great large house, and so it takes up a lot of our space when I'm brewing, just because things sit there for weeks and weeks and weeks. But really enjoy it. I think all of my family that I share my beer with, I think that's one way I save my liver is. I have a first couple, make sure I did the sanitation appropriately, don't give myself anything bad. And then I start sharing with the rest of my family.
That really is the best part, isn't it? Giving it away. People think you're doing some sort of wizardry in your kitchen, and you're like, no, it's really just a different kind of cooking.
Yeah. And I mean, the first one was the most mess, I made a big mess, but after that, I'm a pretty, in general, it's real easy. So it only takes, probably a total of 10 hours.
Yeah.
Just lots of time in between.
Do you bottle or keg? I assume you're bottling, huh?
Yeah, I bottle. Yeah. So I had some sugar at the end, and have to wait a couple of weeks for the carbonation to happen.
Do you have a favorite style?
I'm a big IPA guy.
Me too.
Indian Pale Ales. Right now I have a black IPA.
Yes. I just finished a keg of black IPA. It was amazing.
Cool.
Nobody makes black IPAs anymore.
Not too many, yeah.
Yeah,
they have a lot.
It was like a fad for a hot minute. And then, so do you shop at Brew Chatter or Reno Homebrewer?
So yeah, so I did a lot of online shopping initially. But Reno Homebrew is my local choice.
They were the originators. They came around in like 1991, I want to say, and really started the whole craze. And then it really took off several years ago. It's fun to talk home brewing.
Yeah, lots of fun. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to make some cheese the other week too. That didn't go as well. Make sure you don't use pasteurized milk.
I have not endeavored in that, but I could see how pasteurization would prevent cheese from being made. Yes, I could see that.
The rookie mistake.
Do you find that your medical background and all that science helps or hinders you in making beer and cheese?
I think it helps. Of course, it helps. It helps with everything.
Well, sometimes, you get too into it and it, like, I want it to be an artistic hobby, but I've now turned it into a neurotic science experiment and it's no fun anymore. Overthinking things.
Yeah, no, yeah, I guess, yeah, thankfully I'm not blessed with too much OCD in that respect. No, I think it's been helpful. I mean, mostly it was helpful with using the equipment that I need to use, like the typesetting equipment and the thermometer and kind of knowing how, and getting a better idea of how things heat. Because you have to do some heating in the beginning, and if you don't kind of keep in mind the need to kind of evenly distribute the heat as things heat up, especially with things where you're trying to get a very specific temperature, it makes things much more difficult. And so I think in that respect, it was very helpful to have experienced that in my education.
If you're listening to this and you're thinking about home brewing and now you're listening to us talk and you're going, evenly spread heat, I don't know if this is for me. Don't think that's don't let that dissuade you. It's if you can cook, you can homebrew. If you can't cook, you can still homebrew. There's two things I tell. Oh, you can't. So you're brewing fine. So that there we go. There's my evidence. But I always tell people there's only really two things you can screw up. One is sanitation, which you mentioned. And two is if you splash your beer when you're transferring it, it will oxidize and it will taste like cardboard. But otherwise, it's pretty easy. Well, we booked this for an hour. We're approaching an hour. I sure appreciate your time. I've been doing this for the last few shows. One thing I ask the guests to do is give a takeaway to the audience, something you find useful or that you think that other people can apply in their life, or just an interesting joke, but some takeaway that you want to give, an exhortation. But I want to leave that open to you. What would you send our audience off with?
Cool. So I thought of this during the podcast, during something that you said. So I thought I like this. I think I'll credit this to Aristotle. And I think really important in kind of nowadays, and just to kind of keep this at the front of your mind anytime you interact with anybody, no matter who they are. There's no man or woman out there or that is so ignorant that I cannot learn something from them.
Amen. That is true. And I appreciate that because it's a reminder for all of us to stay humble and continue to absorb so that our egos don't get in the way. Well, thank you, Dr. Lavi. If you want to learn more about Project Echo, where would you send people?
So yeah, I'll give you the link. It's med.unr.edu/echo. And that'll take you straight to our website. I'll give Jake the link too, and I think Jake already has the link, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I just wanted you to say it.
So if that can go next to the in the show notes for the description, I think that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. We'll definitely mention Sanford Center for Aging. I think, I don't know when that was founded, but it's been around at least as long as I started undergrad, which was 1996. So 25, 30 years maybe. Doing good work. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you. And on behalf of the Noggin Notes team and the Zephyr Wellness family, I wish you all great mental wellness. Catch you later.